Chapter 12, Get Going, 5 Ways to Take Action. This chapter provides a handful of practical ideas for soliciting feedback, testing out advice you're receiving, accelerating your learning, and gauging your progress. Stone and Heen begin by offering a suggestion for eliciting one area on which to work. Name one thing. Research by Roy Baumeister found that attention and effort that goes into resisting temptation leaves less energy. This research has important implications for how we deliver and how others act upon our feedback. Feedback can be accurate, timely, perspective, and beautifully conveyed, but if it involves too many ideas to keep track of, too many decisions to sort through, too many changes to make, it is simply too much. Less is more. Think about naming one thing. Choose to act on or change something that is meaningful, useful, and if possible, one thing that you and the receiver see most important to work on. It doesn't have to be an important thing, just a useful thing. So how do you elicit just one thing? As a receiver of feedback, rather than saying something like, "I'd like some feedback," which can be vague and may elicit many areas to work on, ask, "What's one thing I could work on?" The authors of the book provide suggestions for how a receiver might elicit focused feedback. But think about how you as an instructional coach might pose a question that will focus your teacher to identify one area on which they may need to work. Listen for themes. As a receiver of feedback, a focused question might be, "What's one thing I'm doing that you think gets in the way of my own effectiveness?" This question can be useful to pose to different people with which you work. Listen to what they say and identify themes. What is the one thing that everyone is saying? Again, think about how as an instructional coach, you practice listening for themes in conversations with teachers. When teachers feel overwhelmed and are offering a multitude of challenges they are experiencing, what is a common theme in their conversation? A second suggestion by Stone and Heen for testing out the advice you're receiving is to try small experiments. When we receive feedback, we either agree with the suggestions for change and implement them right away. Other times we may completely disagree with the feedback and make the decision to pass on the advice. And still, there are occasions where we fall in the middle, where we are unsure if the feedback is a good idea or not. Especially when things are going well, feedback can feel threatening. Sometimes it is because feedback may suggest that there is something we have to learn or to perfect. But other times it feels threatening because it is asking us to let go of something that is comfortable and predictable. In these cases, don't decide, experiment. Try it on and try it out. Stone and Heen suggest to try the feedback provided. Feedback doesn't have to be permanent. If someone suggests that you might want to consider writing down some questions prior to meeting with a teacher to improve the questioning you are doing as an instructional coach, you may initially think that this won't be useful to you or it isn't your style. However, give it a try. The impact of the advice may surprise you. After all, it doesn't have to be a forever change. Don't tell yourself, "I'm going to have to write questions every time prior to meeting with teachers." Instead say, "Let me try writing questions this time before I meet with my teacher and see what happens." So how do we make change more appealing to our teachers? Make it social. Unpleasant things are less unpleasant when you have company. Through a partnership with your teacher, make them feel that they are not doing this alone, that together you will hold each other accountable and accomplish the task. Or perhaps consider the idea of getting a grade level on board where they all feel committed to the task and supported within their team. In addition, recognize the J-curve. When we try to take feedback that requires change or start any new and challenging activity, a common pattern that results is what is called the J-curve. Imagine a graph where the vertical axis gauges well-being and the horizontal axis represents time. High is happy, low is unhappy. Left is now, and right is later. As we begin to implement our change, we may find that our level of happiness immediately drops.
Created using Powtoon.